The thing about dating an alien is that you never quite know what counts as normal anymore. Take tonight, for instance. I'm lying in my sleeping bag, staring at the tent ceiling while Lyra hums some Solari lullaby that sounds like wind chimes, having an existential crisis. When something with way too many teeth decides to crash our romantic camping trip. The first sign of trouble is the silence. Not the peaceful kind you come for when you drive 3 hours into the mountains to escape your psychology practice and the endless parade of human neuroses. No. This is the kind of silence that makes every evolutionary alarm in your monkey brain start screaming. The crickets stop. The owls shut up. Even the wind seems to hold its breath. "Lyra," I whisper, reaching for her hand in the darkness. Her skin is always slightly cooler than mine, with that faint luminescence that made our first date at that dimly lit restaurant so interesting. Something's wrong. She stops humming and tilts her head in that way that means she's using senses I don't have words for. The Solari evolved on a planet where emotions leave physical traces in the air, like pheromone signatures, but for feelings. Right now, her amber eyes are doing that thing where they shift through colors I'm pretty sure humans aren't supposed to see. "Oh," she says, and I swear to God she sounds amused. "We have a visitor." Before I can ask what kind of visitor makes her sound like she's about to laugh at a funeral. Something tears through the side of our tent like it's made of tissue paper. The beam of moonlight that floods in is immediately blocked by a silhouette that makes me reconsider every life choice that led to this moment. Standing there, backlit like every nightmare I've ever had decided to collaborate on a group project, is what I can only describe as if someone asked a medieval torture device to design a predator. 7 feet tall, easy. 4 arms, each ending in claws that could open cans without even trying. The head is the worst part, though, elongated and crowned with bone ridges, featuring a mouth that opens in ways that violate my understanding of basic anatomy. This is how I die. I think, eaten by something that looks like it flunked out of demon school for being too obvious. The creature steps forward, and I can see it more clearly now. Its skin is like living armor, dark and ridged, with patterns that shift as it moves. When it speaks, because of course it speaks, the voice sounds like gravel being fed through a wood chipper. "Humans," it growls, focusing all 6 of its eyes on me. Weak, soft, prey. I'm about to respond with something either very brave or very stupid, probably both, when Lyra does something that breaks my brain a little bit. She laughs. Not a nervous laugh, not a hysterical laugh, but the same genuine, delighted laugh she had when I showed her that video of a cat falling off a treadmill. "Oh, you're one of those," she says, sitting up in her sleeping bag like we're having tea with the Queen instead of being threatened by Discount Cthulhu. "Razak, right. Or is it Razek Uvorak always have such dramatic names?" The Predator. And I'm using that term both literally and generously. Actually looks taken aback. One of its 4 arms twitches in what might be confusion. "I am Razak of the Bloodclaw clan," it announces, clearly trying to get back on script. "I have come to hunt the human, to prove your species' weakness before the Galactic Council recognizes your pathetic world." "Lovely," Lyra says, and I cannot stress enough how genuinely pleased she sounds. "Would you like some breakfast? Ethan makes incredible pancakes, and I think we have enough coffee for 3. There's a moment of silence, so complete, I can hear my own heartbeat, which is doing its best impression of a hummingbird on cocaine. Razak's head tilts at an angle that would require a chiropractor, if he were human. "You offer food to your death." "Well, it's almost dawn anyway," Lyra says, checking her phone like this is a normal Tuesday. "And you've come all this way. It would be rude not to offer hospitality. Ethan, honey, could you get the camp stove started?" I look at her. She looks at me with those impossible eyes that sometimes reflect galaxies I've never heard of. There's something in her expression, a twinkle of mischief mixed with absolute confidence. That makes me think she knows exactly what she's doing. Sure, I hear myself say, because apparently, my survival instinct has decided to take a personal day. How do you like your eggs, Razak? What follows is possibly the most surreal 20 minutes of my life, and I once had a patient who insisted they were 3 raccoons in a trench coat. I'm standing at our portable camp stove, making scrambled eggs while a 7-foot murder machine sits cross-legged by our destroyed tent, looking like someone just asked it to solve a differential equation using only interpretive dance. I don't understand, Razak says, and there's something almost plaintive in that grinding voice. You should be running, screaming, begging. Should I ask, flipping a pancake with what I hope looks like casual confidence and not the barely controlled panic it actually is. Would that make you feel better about yourself? Lyra kicks me gently, but she's smiling. What Ethan means is that humans have a different approach to predators. They domesticated wolves, turn them into those little things that wear sweaters and fit in purses. That's not possible, Razak says, but he accepts the plate I hand him. His claws make holding the fork a bit awkward, but he manages. Wolves are predators. Humans are prey. Humans are weird, I correct, sitting down with my own plate. We see something that wants to eat us and think I bet that would look cute in a collar. It's kind of our thing. Razak takes a bite of pancake. All 6 eyes widen simultaneously, which is disturbing and hilarious in equal measure. This is acceptable, he admits grudgingly. Secrets in the vanilla extract, I tell him, and a pinch of cinnamon. We eat in bizarre, companionable silence for a few minutes. The sun is starting to rise, painting the mountains in shades of gold and rose. Birds are beginning their morning songs, apparently deciding that the massive predator eating breakfast with us isn't their problem. You're a psychologist, Razak says suddenly. It's not a question. How did you know that? I studied my prey. You help humans with their mental weaknesses. I help them understand themselves better. I correct. There's a difference. Weakness, he insists. But there's less conviction in it now. Lyra pours him coffee from our thermos. The Vorak don't believe in emotional intelligence. Do they? Everything is about strength, dominance, the hunt? As it should be, Razak says, but he's looking at the coffee with deep suspicion. What is this liquid, concentrated anxiety in beverage form? I say. Humans drink it to feel more alive while slowly destroying their sleep cycles. It's basically recreational stress. He takes a sip. His head jerks back. Takes another sip. This is poison. Yep. You drink poison for fun. Every morning. Sometimes twice. Lyra adds helpfully. Razak stares at us for a long moment. Your species makes no sense. Thank you, I say, and mean it. The predator sets down his cup with surprising delicacy. This changes nothing. I came here to hunt you, human, to prove that your kind doesn't deserve a place among the stars. Okay, I say, but finish your breakfast first. It's the most important meal of the day. He looks at me like I've grown a second head, which, from his perspective, might be an improvement. You don't fear me. Oh, I'm terrified, I assure him. My adrenal glands are having a party right now, but fear and hospitality aren't mutually exclusive. Besides, you seem like you could use someone to talk to. I don't need to talk, he snarls, but he hasn't moved to attack. I need to hunt. When was the last time you did something just because you wanted to? I ask, using my therapist voice. It's the same tone I use with CEOs who haven't cried since they were 12. Not because your clan expected it. Not because it would bring honor or status, but just because it would make you happy. Razak goes very still. It's the kind of stillness that makes me think I've either had a breakthrough or I'm about to become breakfast instead of serving it. Happiness is weakness, he says finally, but it sounds like he's reciting something rather than believing it. Is it, though? Lyra asks. She's moved closer to me, her hand finding mine. Ethan makes me happy. That happiness makes me stronger, more capable, more willing to face whatever the universe throws at us. How is that weakness? Because Razak starts, then stops. His 6 eyes focus on our joined hands. Because it makes you vulnerable. If something happens to him, you suffer. Yes, Lyra agrees simply. And that potential for suffering makes every moment more precious. It's not weakness, it's courage, being willing to care despite the risk. The big predator seems to deflate slightly. One of his 4 arms reaches for the coffee again. My clan would call this heresy. Your clan isn't here, I point out. Just us, the mountains, and some really confused birds. As if on cue, a blue jay lands on the picnic table and starts eyeing Razak's pancakes with the kind of determination usually reserved for CrossFit enthusiasts. The predator looks at the tiny bird, then at us, then back at the bird. It's not afraid, he says, sounding genuinely confused. Blue jays are jerks, I explain. They'll fight anything. I once saw one chase off a hawk for getting too close to its nest. The jay hops closer and steals a piece of pancake right off Razak's plate. The massive alien predator, who came here to prove humanity's weakness, just got robbed by a bird that weighs less than a hamburger. Lyra loses it. She laughs so hard she nearly falls off the bench. And it's infectious. I start chuckling, then full-on laughing, and then, in a sound like boulders learning to appreciate humor, Razak laughs too. It's horrible. It sounds like someone trying to start a chainsaw underwater, but it's genuine, and that makes it beautiful in its own terrifying way. This is not how the hunt was supposed to go, he says, when we've all caught our breath. How was it supposed to go? I ask. I arrive. You flee or fight. I prove my superiority. The council sees that humans are just another prey species, not worthy of protection or recognition. And then what? Lyra asks. You go home, get a pat on the head, and feel fulfilled. Razak is quiet for a long moment. I don't know. I never thought past the hunt. That's the thing about being a predator, I say, refilling his coffee. Eventually, you run out of things to hunt. Then what's left? Nothing, he says quietly. There's nothing left. The admission hangs in the air between us. The sun is fully up now, and I can see him clearly in the morning light. Despite the teeth and claws and general nightmare aesthetic, there's something almost vulnerable in those 6 eyes. Would you like to know what humans do when they run out of things to hunt? I ask. He nods, a strangely human gesture that looks odd on his alien features. We build things. We create. We make art, music, stories. We form connections. We find meaning in things that have nothing to do with survival or dominance. Like pancakes, Lyra adds helpfully. Like pancakes. I agree. We took grain, something that just grew wild, and turned it into a million different foods. We didn't do it because we needed to. We did it because we could, because we were curious, because we wanted to share something good with others. Razak picks up his fork again, examining it, like he's seeing it for the first time. My people would see this as waste, energy spent on unnecessary elaboration. And yet you're on your 3rd helping, Lyra points out. He looks down at his plate, seemingly surprised to find it empty again. They are. Not unpleasant. High praise from a killing machine, I say, and he makes that chainsaw laugh sound again. You know, Lyra says, her tone shifting to something more serious. There are others. Aren't there other hunters? You didn't come alone. Razak tenses. How did you know? Honey, I can sense emotional resonance from half a mile away. There are at least 4 more of your kind out there, watching, waiting. They're very confused right now. They are witnessing my failure, Razak says, and there's genuine pain in his voice. Are they, I ask, or are they witnessing something else, something that might change their perspective? You don't understand, he says, standing abruptly. Even sitting, he towers over us. But somehow he seems smaller than when he arrived. The Vorak way is all I know, all any of us know. For generations, we've defined ourselves by the hunt, by conquest. Without it, what are we? Whatever you choose to be. I say simply. That's the human answer, anyway. We're not born with a purpose when we make our own. That's terrifying, he says. It really is. I agree. But it's also freedom. Razak looks out at the forest where his clan members are hidden. I can't see them, but I trust Lyra's senses. They're out there, watching their fearsome warrior having breakfast with his prey, probably wondering if he's lost his mind or playing some elaborate game. They'll want me to kill you, he says, to complete the hunt. Will you, I ask, genuinely curious. My fear has faded into something else. Something that feels a lot like the professional interest I get when a patient is on the verge of a breakthrough. I should, he says. It would be easy. You're weak, fragile. One swipe of my claws and it would be over. But, Lyra prompts, but then I wouldn't know how the coffee is made, or why humans domesticate predators, or what other foods you've created for no reason other than enjoyment. Don't forget about ice cream, I add. We took milk, froze it, added sugar, and created hundreds of flavors. There's one that tastes like lavender. Lavender. We turned a flower into a dessert. All 6 of his eyes blink in sequence. That's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. Wait until you hear about deep-fried butter, Lyra says. You're making that up. I wish we were, I tell him solemnly. He sits back down, moving with a grace that belies his size. My clan won't understand. Do they need to, I ask, or do you need to understand first? We sit in silence for a moment. The blue jay has returned with friends, and now there's a small congregation of birds eyeing our breakfast, spread like feathered bandits. One particularly bold robin actually lands on Razak's shoulder. It's on me, he says, not moving. Yeah, they do that, I say. Birds are basically tiny dinosaurs with better PR. Your planet makes no sense, he repeats. But there's wonder in it now instead of frustration. Tell me about your world, I say. Because therapy is just structured curiosity when you get down to it. What's it like? Harsh, he says immediately. The strong survive, the weak perish. Every day is a battle against the environment, against others, against yourself. We don't have. He gestures vaguely at our camp setup. This being breakfast. This being softness, comfort without purpose, conversation without challenge. Sounds exhausting, Lyra says sympathetically. It's life, he says, but there's less conviction in it now. It's one version of life, I correct. There are others. The universe is big enough for all of them. The Council doesn't see it that way. They want to categorize every species, predator or prey, useful or useless, strong or weak. And humans confuse those categories, Lyra says. We're weak, but we survive. We're prey, but we make predators our friends. We're useless by their standards, but we create things no one else would think of. Like pancakes, Razak says. And I think he's starting to get it. Like pancakes, I agree. And music, and art, and stories, and love. He flinches at the last word. Love makes you vulnerable. Love makes you invincible, Lyra counters. I would fight every one of your clan members to protect Ethan. Not because I'm strong, but because I love him. That makes me dangerous in ways strength alone never could. But if you lose, then I lose loving someone, she says. That's better than never loving at all. Razak looks at me. And you, would you fight for her? I'm fighting right now, I tell him. Not with claws or teeth, but with words, ideas, breakfast food. I'm fighting to show you a different way of seeing the universe. That's the human weapon, Razak. We don't always fight to destroy. Sometimes we fight to create, to connect, to change minds instead of ending lives. He's quiet for a long time. The forest is waking up around us. Birds singing, insects buzzing, life going on as if there isn't a massive predator having an existential crisis at our picnic table. They're getting impatient, Lyra says quietly. Your clan, they want to know what's taking so long. Let them wait, Razak says, and there's something like defiance in his voice. I want to know more about ice cream, I laugh, partly from relief and partly from the absurdity of it all. Well, lucky for you, I brought a cooler. It won't be lavender, but I've got chocolate and vanilla. You brought ice cream camping. He sounds incredulous. Humans bring unnecessary things everywhere, Lyra explains. It's actually quite endearing once you get used to it. I dig the ice cream out of the cooler, grateful for the high-tech insulation that kept it from melting overnight. Razak watches with fascination as I scoop it into bowls, his 6 eyes tracking every movement. This is frozen sugar milk, he says when I hand him a bowl. Basically, yes. That you eat for pleasure. Exactly. Even though it has no nutritional value. Sometimes, especially because it has no nutritional value. He takes a tentative taste. His eyes close. All 6 of them. And he makes a sound I can only describe as a purr crossed with a garbage disposal. This is, he starts, then stops. I don't have words. The word you're looking for is good, I suggest. No, he says, opening his eyes. It's more than that. It's unnecessary beauty, purposeless joy. It's everything my people say is weak and worthless. But it makes me feel happy, Lyra suggests. Alive, he corrects. More alive than any hunt ever has. There's movement in the forest. The other hunters are getting restless, maybe even suspicious. I can't see them, but I can feel their presence now, like the weight of eyes in the dark. You should probably go talk to them, I say. Before they decide to finish what you started. What would I tell them? He asks. And for the first time, he sounds young. Not like an apex predator, but like someone facing a choice they never expected to make. The truth, I suggest, that humans aren't what they expected. That strength comes in forms they haven't considered. That there's more to life than hunting and being hunted. They won't listen. Then show them, Lyra says. She stands up, walks over to our damaged tent, and pulls out a large thermos. Take this. Share it with them. Tell them it's human battle fuel or something dramatic. What is it? Hot chocolate, she says with a grin. With marshmallows. Razak takes the thermos like it's a holy relic. You're giving me more sugar liquid. We're giving you an experience, I correct. Something to share. That's what humans do. We take our pleasures and multiply them by sharing. He stands, towering over us again. But now it doesn't feel threatening. It feels like watching someone unfold, literally and metaphorically. If I go to them, he says slowly, if I share this with them, everything changes. The hunt, the proof, the council's decision about your species. Change is scary, I acknowledge. But staying the same when you've glimpsed something better, that's scarier. He looks at the thermos in his claws, then at us. You could have run. When I first appeared, you could have screamed, fought, done what prey is supposed to do. We could have, Lyra agrees. But then we'd have missed out on breakfast with a new friend. Friend, he repeats the word like he's tasting it. The Vorak don't have friends. The Vorak haven't met humans before, I point out. We're aggressively friendly. It's actually a survival trait. We pack-bonded with wolves, for crying out loud. You never stood a chance. That chainsaw laugh again, but warmer this time. You're saying I was doomed from the start. Doomed to breakfast and emotional growth, pretty much. He takes a step toward the forest, then pauses. What if they don't understand? What if they still want to hunt? Then we'll make more pancakes, I say simply. We've got enough mix for a small army, or a large predator clan. Whatever. You'd feed them all, even knowing they came to kill you. It's worked so far, Lyra points out. Razak shakes his massive head. Humans are insane. Thank you, we say in unison. He walks toward the tree line, moving with that predator grace that should be terrifying, but now just looks like a friend heading off to a difficult conversation. Just before he disappears into the shadows, he turns back. The small bird, he says. The one that stole my food. The blue jay. Yes. It's still on my shoulder. I look closer, and sure enough, the jay is perched there like it's found the world's most dangerous tree. They do that, I say. Birds are weird. You'll fit right in on Earth. He reaches up with one claw. So gently it makes my heart ache. And the jay hops onto it. For a moment, the massive predator and tiny bird regard each other. Two different kinds of fierce finding common ground. Then the jay pecks his claw, steals a marshmallow from the thermos, and flies off. I think I understand now, Razak says quietly. Humans didn't become dangerous by being strong. You became dangerous by making everything else less dangerous. We call it friendship, I tell him. It's our superpower. He nods and disappears into the forest. Lyra and I stand there, watching the trees where he vanished, waiting to see what happens next. Think it'll work? I ask her. She squeezes my hand. Honey, you just served breakfast to Death Incarnate and turned him into a philosopher. If that's not human magic, I don't know what is. From somewhere in the forest we hear voices. Grinding, growling voices speaking in a language I don't understand. But then, cutting through the alien words, comes a sound I recognize. Laughter. Terrible, chainsaw in a blender laughter, but laughter nonetheless. Should we start making more pancakes? Lyra asks. Probably, I say, heading for the camp stove. And maybe some eggs. Existential crises always make me hungry. You realize we might have just changed the course of human history with breakfast food. Wouldn't be the first time, I say, thinking of every peace treaty signed over a meal, every friendship forged over coffee, every love story that started with, "Would you like to grab dinner?" The sun climbs higher, painting our destroyed campsite in golden light. Somewhere in the trees, a group of alien predators are about to discover hot chocolate. My girlfriend, who can sense emotions from other worlds, is humming again. And I'm making pancakes for beings that could kill me with a casual swipe. Just another morning in the life of the universe's most aggressively friendly species. The birds are singing again, bold and unafraid. Even they know something has changed. The predators came to hunt. But humans make friends. And sometimes, that's the most dangerous thing of all. Chapter 2. The Inciting Incident. The sounds from the forest have shifted from aggressive growling to something that might generously be called confused mumbling. It's been about 20 minutes since Razak disappeared into the trees with our thermos of hot chocolate, and Lyra and I have been stress cooking enough breakfast to feed a small battalion. You know, Lyra says, flipping her fourth batch of pancakes with unnecessary flair. Most couples argue about where to go for vacation. We're arguing about how much syrup alien predators might need. We're not arguing, I point out, cracking another dozen eggs. We're having a spirited discussion about interspecies breakfast preferences. You wanted to make bacon. Bacon is universal. It transcends species barriers. They might be vegetarians. Lyra, they literally came here to hunt me. I don't think they're vegetarians. She laughs. That tinkling sound that reminds me of silver bells having a really good day. Fair point. But maybe they're reformed vegetarians. You know, after the whole hot chocolate revelation. Before I can respond, the underbrush rustles and Razak emerges. He's not alone. Behind him, moving with varying degrees of reluctance and curiosity, are 4 more Vorak. They're all slightly different. One has more pronounced bone ridges. Another has scales that shimmer with an oil-slick rainbow effect. The third is somehow even taller than Razak. And the fourth, interestingly, is smaller and moves with a different kind of grace. Less bulldozer and more ballet dancer with knife hands. They array themselves at the edge of our campsite, like they're posing for the universe's most threatening family photo. The silence stretches until it's practically begging for mercy. So, I say, because someone has to. Pancakes. The tall one makes a sound like a diesel engine having an existential crisis. Razak says you poisoned him with joy. That's one way to put it. I agree. Though technically it was just chocolate. The joy was a side effect. Joy is weakness, the one with rainbow scales declares, though they're eyeing our breakfast spread with what I'm choosing to interpret as interest rather than hunger for human flesh. Is it though? Lyra asks, doing that thing where she tilts her head and somehow makes a question sound like a gentle philosophical knife to the ribs. You traveled across space to hunt. Isn't hunting a form of joy for your people? That's different, Scale Rainbow insists. The hunt brings honor, proves strength. So does making a perfect souffle, I counter. You ever try to keep egg whites from collapsing? That takes skill, patience, and a warrior's heart. The smaller one actually snorts. It's almost delicate, for a sound coming from something with that many teeth. You compare cooking to combat. I compare creation to destruction, I say, plating up pancakes with what I hope looks like confidence. Both require skill. Both can fail catastrophically. But one leaves you with something delicious, and the other leaves you with, what a corpse and bragging rights. Proof of superiority. Tall, dark and terrifying rumbles. Over something dead, Lyra points out. Ethan proves his superiority over ingredients every morning, and then we get to eat the results. Seems more efficient. Razak steps forward, still clutching our thermos, like it contains the secrets of the universe. They need to taste it to understand. Taste what? Bone Ridge asks suspiciously. This poison joy you spoke of, breakfast. Razak says simply. Just breakfast. I start setting out plates, noting how the Vorak watch my every movement like I might suddenly reveal this is all an elaborate trap. Which, in a way, it is. Just not the kind they're expecting. Before we eat, I say, channeling my therapist voice. Maybe we should do introductions. I'm Ethan. This is Lyra. You know Razak. And you are, they look at each other, clearly torn between millennia of predator protocol and the social pressure of someone offering them food. The tall one breaks first. Thrax, war leader of this hunt pack. Skarn, says Rainbow Scales, their voice lighter than the others, almost musical if music was made by grinding metal. Gorvak, Bone Ridge rumbles, the shortest introduction possible. The smaller one hesitates, then speaks with clear reluctance. Zara. Lovely to meet you all, Lyra says. like we're at a dinner party instead of a potential massacre. Please, sit. The food's getting cold. What happens next is probably the most awkward meal in the history of interspecies relations. 5 apex predators trying to figure out how to sit at a human picnic table is like watching origami attempt itself. Eventually, they manage, though the table groans ominously under their collective weight. I serve pancakes. Lyra pours coffee. The Voraks stare at their plates like they're trying to decode a message from the universe. It's not going to attack you, I say gently. That's kind of the point. Zara is the first to try, cutting a piece with surprising delicacy. Her 6 eyes widen. It's sweet. That's the syrup, I explain. Tree blood, basically, but processed until it becomes delicious. You consume tree blood. Gorvak sounds both disgusted and impressed. We consume a lot of weird things, I admit. Wait until you hear about cheese. That's basically controlled milk rot. Thrax takes a massive bite, probably to prove he's not afraid of Earth food. His reaction is immediate and hilarious. All 6 eyes close, his shoulders relax, and he makes a sound I can only describe as a purr growl. This is combat, he says reverently. My tongue is fighting flavors I don't have names for. That's cinnamon and vanilla, I supply helpfully. They're winning, aren't they? Decisively, he admits, taking another bite. Skarn tries the coffee and immediately spits it out, their scales shifting through colors I don't have names for. This is actively hostile. It's an acquired taste, Lyra says, passing them orange juice instead. Try this. It's sunshine in liquid form. Sunshine isn't a liquid, Gorvak states with the confidence of someone who's never been wrong about anything. It is now, I say. Humans are really good at making metaphors into reality. They eat in increasingly comfortable silence, punctuated by sounds of alien appreciation and the occasional question about ingredients. It's going well. Too well. I can feel the other shoe hovering, waiting to drop with terminal velocity. It's Thrax who finally drops it. This changes nothing, he says, but his hearts clearly aren't in it. Yes, hearts plural. Lyra told me the Vorak have 3. We came here with a purpose. The Galactic Council needs to categorize your species. Predator or prey. It determines everything. Trade rights, protection status, colonization permissions. And you've decided we're prey, I say. It's not a question. You have no natural weapons, Gorvak points out. No claws, no armor, negligible teeth. You're soft, slow, and fragile. We are, I agree, which clearly wasn't the response he expected. We're basically walking snacks from a biological perspective. And yet, here you are, eating breakfast we made, drinking beverages we created, having already decided not to kill us. So what does that make us confusing, Zara says quietly. And there's something in her tone that makes me think she's not just talking about the species classification. Lyra leans forward, her empathic abilities practically glowing around her. You're afraid. We fear nothing, Thrax says automatically. No, she continues gently. You're afraid of what it means if humans aren't prey. If we're something else. Something that doesn't fit your classifications. It means your entire worldview might be wrong. And that's terrifying. Skarn's scales shift to what I'm starting to recognize as their upset color. A kind of deep purple with gold edges. The universe has rules. Order. Predators and prey. Strong and weak. If humans break those rules. The universe gets bigger, I finish. More complex. More interesting. But also scarier, because you can't predict it anymore. We came to hunt you, Razak says suddenly. All of us. We were chosen because we're the best, the strongest, fastest, most ruthless. We were supposed to return with proof that humans are just clever animals that learn to use tools. And now, I prompt, now I'm eating something called French toast and questioning everything I've ever believed, he admits, poking at his breakfast with a claw. Do you have any idea how uncomfortable that is? Actually, yes, I say, refilling his coffee. I'm a psychologist. I basically help people question everything they've ever believed for a living. It's always uncomfortable. Growth usually is. We don't grow, Thrax states. We are born, we hunt, we die. That is the way. Was the way, Zara corrects softly, and everyone turns to look at her. She shrinks slightly under their gaze but continues. Things are already changing. The younger generations question the old ways. Some even suggest that cooperation might be stronger than competition. Heresy, Gorvak spits, but there's something uncertain in his eyes. Or evolution, Lyra suggests. Your people evolved to be perfect predators for your world, but you're not on your world anymore. You're in space, meeting species that don't fit your ecosystem. Maybe it's time to evolve again. Into what? Skarn asks, and it's genuine curiosity, rather than challenge. Whatever you choose, I say. That's the human answer. We don't evolve physically much anymore. We evolve culturally, intellectually, emotionally. We choose who we want to be and then work toward it. That's chaos, Thrax protests. That's freedom, I counter. And yeah, it's messy. But it's also how we went from cave dwellers to space travelers in a cosmic eye blink. There's a rustling from the forest, and I tense. But it's just that damn blue jay, returning with what appears to be its entire extended family. They perch in the nearby trees, watching us with bright, fearless eyes. The small predators have multiplied, Gorvak observes warily. They're not predators, I explain. Well, not of us. They're just birds. They're hoping we'll drop some food. And if you don't, they'll steal it anyway, Lyra says cheerfully. Birds have no respect for the food chain. They just do whatever they want. As if to prove her point, one particularly bold crow lands right on the table and grabs an entire pancake, flying off with its prize while cawing what sounds suspiciously like laughter. Thrax seems at a loss for words. It just took your food, and you're not pursuing it. It's a bird. I shrug. Getting mad at a bird for being a bird is like getting mad at water for being wet. Besides, we made plenty. This is why we thought you were prey, Skarn says, but there's a wondering tone to their voice. You don't fight. You don't pursue. You just accept. We accept what we can't change, I correct. But we're really good at changing what we can't accept. We just prefer to do it with words and ideas, rather than claws and teeth. Ideas don't win battles, Gorvak states. Don't they? I ask. You came here with the idea that humans are prey. That idea is currently losing a battle to pancakes and coffee. No bloodshed, no lives lost. But the battle is real. Zara suddenly stands, all four arms tense. Someone's coming. The other Vorak immediately shift into combat mode, and I'm reminded that despite the pleasant breakfast, these are still apex predators. The forest goes quiet again, that oppressive silence that makes my primitive brain scream danger. How many? Thrax demands. 1, Zara says, then frowns. But moving strangely, not hunting. It's... A figure emerges from the tree line, and my blood goes cold. It's another Vorak, but this one is different. Older, scarred, with an air of authority that makes Thrax look like middle management. Its armor is more elaborate, decorated with what look like trophies from dozens of successful hunts. Commander Kryn, Thrax says, and there's fear in his voice. Actual fear. We weren't expecting you. Clearly, Kryn says, surveying our breakfast scene with 6 cold eyes. I came to see why the hunt was taking so long. I find you socializing with the prey. It's not what it looks like, Razak starts. It looks like treason. Kryn cuts him off. It looks like 5 of my best hunters have been corrupted by weak species that should already be classified and catalogued. With respect, Commander, I say, standing slowly. Maybe you should try the pancakes before making any decisions. Every Vorak, including Kryn, turns to stare at me. The commander's expression would probably be incredulous if I could read alien faces better. You dare speak to me, pray. I dare offer you breakfast, I correct. It's only polite. You've come all this way. Lyra kicks me under the table, but she's also standing, moving to my side. What Ethan means is that we believe in hospitality, even for those who come to harm us, especially for them, actually. You would feed your death, Kryn asks, echoing Razak's earlier question. We'd feed anyone who's hungry, I say. It's kind of our thing. We even have a saying, the way to a man's heart is through his stomach. Though in your case, it might be the way to 3 hearts. Kryn moves closer, each step deliberate and menacing. You mock me. I invite you, I counter, gesturing to the table. Sit, eat, then decide if we're prey. Make an informed decision rather than an assumption. Humans are insane, Gorvak mutters. Thank you, I say automatically, not breaking eye contact with Kryn. The commander looks at his hunters, each in turn. Explain yourselves. They're not what we expected, Thrax says carefully. They don't behave like prey. They don't behave like predators either, Skarn adds. They're something else. Something new, Zara says quietly. Kryn's attention fixes on Razak. And you were so eager to prove yourself, to show that you were ready to join the elite. What do you say? Razak stands. And for a moment I think he might actually fight his commander. But instead, he picks up the thermos of hot chocolate. I say try this, he says, pouring a cup and offering it to Kryn. Try this and tell me these beings are simple prey. You've lost your mind, Kryn says, but he takes the cup. Poisoned by weakness. Poisoned by possibility, Razak corrects. Kryn drinks. His reaction is immediate and violent. He throws the cup aside and roars. A sound that sends every bird for miles fleeing in terror. What is this sensation? He demands. Happiness, Lyra says simply. Uncomplicated, purposeless happiness. It's weakness. Is it, I ask? You're feeling it right now. Do you feel weak? Kryn pauses, conflict visible in every line of his scarred form. I don't know what I feel. Would you like to sit down and figure it out? I offer. We have plenty more food, and coffee, though that's more of an acquired taste. This is madness, Kryn says. But he's looking at the table laden with food, at his hunters who seem more relaxed than he's probably ever seen them. This is breakfast, I correct. Madness comes later, usually around tax season. Zara actually laughs at that, a sound like wind chimes being fed through a wood chipper. It's weirdly charming. Kryn sits. It's not graceful. It's not willing. But he sits. I serve him pancakes. Lyra pours fresh coffee. The universe holds its breath. He takes a bite, chews slowly, swallows. The Galactic Council will hear of this, he says finally. Good, I reply. Tell them humans make excellent pancakes. Tell them humans are dangerous, he corrects. But there's something almost like respect in his voice. Not because you're predators, not because you're prey, but because you're something else entirely. Something that turns predators into friends, Lyra suggests. I was going to say confused, Kryn admits. Very, very confused. That's where friendship usually starts, I tell him. with confusion, breakfast, and the realization that maybe the universe is bigger than you thought. Kryn takes another bite of pancake. These are acceptable. From him, it sounds like the highest praise in the universe. So, Thrax says carefully, what do we tell the council? Kryn is quiet for a long moment, chewing thoughtfully. We tell them the truth, that humans cannot be classified. They're not predators. They're not prey. They're human, I supply. We're just human. That's not a classification, Gorvak protests. Maybe it should be, Zara says. A new category. For species that don't fit the old ways? That would change everything. Skarn's scales ripple through a rainbow of uncertainty. Everything's already changing, Lyra points out. You're sitting here eating breakfast with the species you came to hunt. Change happened the moment Razak accepted our invitation instead of attacking. I could still attack, Razak offers, but his hearts clearly aren't in it. You could, I agree, but then you'd miss dessert. There's more, Thrax asks, perking up in a way that would be adorable if he wasn't a 7-foot killing machine. There's always more, I tell him. That's another human thing. We never know when to stop. It's probably why we survived despite being walking snacks. We just kept going, kept making things, kept offering friendship until the universe got tired of trying to eat us and decided to join us for dinner instead. Kryn stands abruptly. I need to think. Think over breakfast, Lyra suggests. Thinking on an empty stomach leads to bad decisions. That's not just human wisdom. That's universal truth. He looks at her, then at me, then at his hunters who are all contentedly destroying their third helpings. The council won't understand, he says. Then bring them here, I suggest. The idea forming even as I speak. Bring them all here. We'll make breakfast. You want to feed the entire Galactic Council. Kryn sounds like I've suggested we wrestle supernovas. Why not? I shrug. We've got enough pancake mix. And I know a great wholesale place for syrup. This is how humans conquered Earth, Razak says suddenly, understanding dawning in his 6 eyes. Not through battle, through invitation. You invited everything to your table until nothing wanted to eat you anymore. Basically, yeah, I admit. Though it took us a while to figure it out. We had some rough patches. But eventually, we learned that it's hard to hate someone you've shared a meal with. And if someone refuses the invitation, Kryn asks, then they miss out on pancakes, Lyra says simply. Their loss. The commander sits back down, a gesture that feels like a tectonic shift in the fabric of reality. Tell me more about this dessert you mentioned, I grin. Ever heard of chocolate lava cake? The way all 6 of his eyes light up tells me everything I need to know about the future of human-alien relations. It's going to be delicious. Chapter 3, Rising Action. The chocolate lava cake is a mistake. Not because it's bad, it's actually one of my better attempts, but because watching Commander Kryn experience molten chocolate for the first time is like watching someone discover religion, fall in love, and have an existential crisis simultaneously. It bleeds chocolate, he says reverently, poking the dessert with his claw. You've weaponized sweetness. That's one way to look at it. I agree, serving similar portions to the other Vorak. Though we prefer to think of it as edible happiness. This should be illegal, Skarn moans. Their scales shifting through colors I'm pretty sure indicate pleasure. No single food should have this much power. It's been 2 hours since Kryn arrived. 2 hours of increasingly surreal breakfast conversation, punctuated by the Vorak discovering new human foods, with the enthusiasm of kids in a candy store. If the kids were 7-foot apex predators, and the candy store was my rapidly depleting camp supplies. We're going to run out of eggs, Lyra whispers to me, while the aliens are distracted by their dessert-induced euphoria. "I've got emergency provisions in the car," I whisper back. Never thought I'd need them for feeding a pack of interdimensional hunters. But here we are. "Your life is weird," she says fondly. Says the empath from another star system who's dating a human therapist. Fair point. Kryn suddenly stands, and the atmosphere shifts. The casual breakfast vibe evaporates as he assumes what I can only describe as commander mode. "This cannot continue," he announces. My heart sinks. Here it comes. The revelation that this was all a test, or a game, or that chocolate cake isn't enough to overcome millennia of predator conditioning. "Sir," Thrax asks carefully. "We cannot continue to hide this from the Council," Kryn elaborates. "What we've discovered here, it changes everything. They need to know." "Know what, exactly?" I ask. Kryn fixes all 6 eyes on me. "That humans have mastered a form of warfare we never imagined. You don't defeat enemies. You transform them into allies through... aggressive hospitality," Lyra suggests. "Precisely." Kryn nods. "It's insidious, effective, and completely contrary to everything we've been taught." "So, what do you propose?" I ask, though I have a sinking feeling about where this is going. "The Council must experience this themselves," he declares. "They're gathered on the orbital station above Earth, waiting for our report. Instead, we'll bring them here." "Here." I look around at our destroyed tent, the picnic table groaning under the weight of alien predators, the camp stove that's been working overtime. "To our campsite." "Where else?" Kryn asks. "This is where the transformation happened. This is ground zero for humanity's most dangerous weapon." "Breakfast," Razak says solemnly. "I really feel like you're all making this more dramatic than it needs to be," I protest. "Ethan," Zara says quietly, "you turned a hunting pack into whatever we are now, with pancakes and therapy. That's either the least dramatic or most dramatic thing in galactic history." "When you put it like that," I concede. Kryn pulls out something that looks like a smartphone designed by H.R. Geiger. "I'm sending the coordinates. The Council will want to see this for themselves." "Wait," I say, a thought occurring to me. "How many members are on this Council?" 43, Kryn says casually. 43, I repeat flatly. "You want me to make breakfast for 43 alien dignitaries. Is that a problem?" Lyra and I exchange glances. "We're going to need more eggs," she says. "And pancake mix," I add. "And probably a bigger camp stove." Several bigger camp stoves. Maybe we should just build a kitchen. In the middle of the forest. Why not? We're already feeding predators chocolate cake. How much weirder can it get? The answer, as it turns out, is much weirder. Within an hour, the sky above our campsite starts looking like a cosmic parking lot. Ships of every configuration imaginable descend through the clouds, sleek, silver needles, organic-looking pods that pulse with bioluminescent patterns, geometric constructs that hurt to look at directly, and one that appears to be made entirely of crystallized energy. "I should have brought more coffee," I mutter, watching the impromptu landing zone that used to be a peaceful meadow. "I should have brought my good apron," Lyra counters. The first to emerge is a being that looks like someone asked a praying mantis to design a diplomat. Tall, impossibly thin, with limbs that bend in too many places and eyes that take up most of its triangular head. "Ambassador Crix of the Xanathi Collective," Kryn introduces. "Ambassador, this is the human Ethan and the Solari Lyra. The ones who corrupted our hunters with food." Crix's voice is like wind through broken glass. "Corrupted is a strong word," I protest. "We prefer fed." More beings emerge from their ships. A creature that looks like a sentient cloud of crystalline particles. Something that might be a plant if plants had opinions and doctorate degrees. A spider thing with too many eyes and not enough legs to be properly spider-like. Each one more alien than the last. And all of them looking at us like we're either dinner or a science experiment. So, says something that looks like a beach ball covered in tentacles. These are the dangerous humans. We prefer aggressively friendly, Lyra corrects. They don't look dangerous, observes a being that appears to be made of liquid metal. They look soft, edible. Try to eat us and you miss breakfast, I say, falling back on what's worked so far. Your choice. You threaten us with the absence of food. The metal being sounds incredulous. I offer you the presence of food, I correct, but only if you can resist the urge to eat the chef. That seems reasonable, says the cloud of crystals, whose voice sounds like chimes having an argument. What follows is the most chaotic, insane, and somehow beautiful few hours of my life. Lyra and I, with help from our converted Vorak hunters, turn the campsite into an impromptu outdoor restaurant. The Vorak handle the heavy lifting, literally, as Gorvak carries our car to the campsite, rather than making multiple trips for supplies. The camp stoves multiply, borrowed from other campers who are either very understanding or too terrified to refuse when Thrax politely asks to borrow their equipment. A folding table city springs up, looking like someone's fever dream of a picnic. And I cook. God help me. I cook like I've never cooked before. Pancakes by the hundreds. Eggs in every configuration known to humanity. Bacon, sausage, hash browns, French toast, waffles once someone finds a waffle iron in their RV, and every breakfast food I can think of. This is insanity, I mutter, flipping what feels like my 1000th pancake. This is diplomacy, Lyra corrects, expertly managing 3 coffee pots at once. Also, the tentacle being wants to know if we have anything that isn't from Earth. Do we? I have some Solari fruit preserves in my bag. Think jam, but with flavors that humans can't quite taste properly. Perfect. Cross-cultural breakfast exchange. The reactions are as varied as the beings themselves. The Mantis ambassador approaches eating with scientific precision, analyzing each flavor like it's conducting an experiment. The crystal cloud somehow absorbs food directly, sparkling different colors with each taste. The plant being politely declines everything but seems fascinated by the concept of cooking, asking detailed questions about temperature and chemical reactions. But it's the liquid metal being, who introduces themselves as Flux, that has the most interesting reaction. This is inefficient, they declare after their first bite of scrambled eggs. Inefficient, I ask, trying not to be offended. You take simple proteins and nutrients, complicate them with heat and seasoning, present them aesthetically, all for the same nutritional value as the raw ingredients. Yes, I agree. Why? Because it tastes better. But the energy expenditure makes it worth it. I interrupt. That's what humans do. We take the efficient, the practical, the simple, and we make it beautiful, delicious, meaningful. We complicate things because the complication itself has value. Flux considers this, their metallic form rippling. That's illogical. That's human, Lyra says. They find joy in the unnecessary. Joy. Flux repeats the word like it's in a foreign language. Another inefficiency. The best kind, I tell them, then have an idea. Here, try this. I grab a piece of bacon and a bottle of maple syrup, under the horrified, fascinated gaze of 43 alien representatives. I dip the bacon in the syrup and take a bite. You just combined meat with tree blood, the tentacle being observes. Yep. Why? Because it's delicious. Sweet and salty, crispy and sticky. It shouldn't work, but it does. One by one, the aliens try the combination. The reactions range from disgust to revelation. But everyone reacts, even Flux, who declares it phenomenally inefficient while taking a second piece. This is what the Council needs to understand, Kryn says, addressing the gathering. Humans don't follow the rules. They're not predators, but they're not prey. There's something outside our classification system. They're chaos, suggests the plant being. Controlled chaos, Ambassador Crix corrects. Their mantis head tilting at an angle that would snap a human neck. They make no sense, but they make no sense consistently. We have a word for it, I offer. Human. That's not a classification, Flux protests. Maybe it should be, Zara says, echoing her earlier statement. A new category for species that don't fit the old categories. That would require restructuring our entire understanding of galactic civilization, Crix observes. Or, Lyra suggests, you could just accept that not everything needs to fit in a box. Humans certainly don't. We tried boxes, I add. We didn't fit. So we made our own shape. What shape is that? Asks the crystal cloud. Kind of a squiggly line with extra dimensions and a side of bacon, I say, completely seriously. There's a moment of silence. Then the tentacle being starts laughing. It's a sound like bubbles popping in reverse, but it's definitely laughter. Others join in, each species with their own version of amusement, until the forest is filled with the sound of 43 different kinds of laughter. This is unprecedented, Crix says, when the laughter dies down. Never in the history of the Council has a species been so thoroughly confusing. Thank you, I say. Because what else do you say to that? It wasn't a compliment. We know, Lyra assures them. Humans take everything as a compliment. It's part of their charm. Or their insanity, Flux mutters. Those aren't mutually exclusive, I point out. The discussion continues as the sun climbs higher. Arguments break out. Not about whether to eat us, but about how to classify us. The plant being suggests we're a form of beneficial parasite. The crystal cloud thinks we're reality-warping entities. The tentacle being insists we're a collective hallucination brought on by space travel. Through it all, Lyra and I keep cooking. Every time voices get raised, we present a new dish. Tension's about to boil over. Here, try these blueberry muffins. Philosophical argument getting too heated. Have some fresh fruit salad. It's conflict resolution through carbohydrates. You're weaponizing breakfast, Razak observes, helping me carry another round of pancakes to the increasingly chaotic gathering. We're sharing breakfast, I correct. If it happens to prevent intergalactic war, that's just a bonus. How are you so calm? He asks. Your species' entire future is being decided by beings that could destroy your planet. Yeah, but they're doing it on full stomachs, I point out. Hard to commit genocide when you're in a food coma. That's actually brilliant. That's human. As the afternoon approaches, something shifts in the atmosphere. The arguments become less heated, more contemplative. Beings that probably should be natural enemies are sharing recipes from their homeworlds. The Vorak hunters are teaching the tentacle being how to flip pancakes. The crystal cloud and the plant being are having what appears to be a philosophical discussion about the nature of taste. It's working, Lyra whispers to me. They're connecting. Over breakfast, I marvel. We might have just changed the course of galactic history with breakfast food. Don't jinx it, she warns. Too late. A new ship appears overhead, larger and more imposing than the others. It's black, angular, and radiates menace like it's going for a record. The gathered beings fall silent, and several actually step back. Who's that? I ask Kryn. Overseer Vex, he says, and there's fear in his voice. The final authority of the Council, if they're here. It means the Council's decision is being questioned. Crix finishes. Overseer Vex only appears when the established order is threatened. The ship lands with unnecessary drama, scorching a circle in the grass. The ramp lowers with a hiss that sounds like contempt. What emerges is surprisingly small, maybe 4 feet tall, but presence has nothing to do with size. The being is encased in armor that seems to absorb light, with no visible features except for 3 glowing red sensors where a face should be. "So," Vex says, their voice mechanical and cold, "these are the creatures causing such disorder." "Overseer," Crix begins, but Vex cuts them off with a gesture. "I've monitored your discussions. Your breakfast. This is unacceptable." "What's unacceptable?" I ask, stepping forward despite every instinct screaming at me to run. "That we fed people, that we brought different species together." "That you defy classification," Vex states. "Order must be maintained. Species are either predator or prey. There is no third option." "Then make one," Lyra suggests. "Impossible. The system has worked for millennia." "Has it, though?" I ask. "Because from where I'm standing, it looks like your system just got undermined by pancakes and friendly conversation." Vex turns those red sensors on me, and I feel like I'm being dissected. "You are either very brave or very stupid, human." "Por qué no los dos?" I say, then realize alien overlords probably don't understand Spanish. "Why not both?" "Because bravery can be respected. Stupidity must be corrected." "What if it's neither?" Lyra asks. "What if it's just human?" "That means nothing," Vex insists. "It means everything," Razak says, stepping beside us. "I came here to hunt, to kill, to prove humans were weak. Instead, I found something stronger than predation. I found connection. Sentiment," Vex dismisses. "Strength," Thrax counters, joining Razak. "The strength to transform enemies into allies without violence." One by one, the other Vorak stand with us. Then, surprisingly, Ambassador Crix moves to our side. The crystal cloud follows. Then the tentacle being, then others, until most of the council has literally taken a stand. "You would all defy the established order for these creatures?" Vex asks. "We would expand the established order," Flux says, their liquid metal form rippling with determination. "To include something new, something human." "And if I refuse?" The question hangs in the air like a threat. The gathered beings tense, ready for something. Violence, maybe, or just disappointment. "Then you miss out on dessert," I say. Everyone turns to stare at me. "I'm sorry." Vex's mechanical voice actually sounds confused. "Dessert," I repeat. "We haven't served it yet. Chocolate lava cake, ice cream, pie. You can't judge human cuisine without trying dessert. That would be inefficient." "I am not here to eat," Vex states. "No, I agree. You're here to judge. But how can you judge what you don't understand? How can you classify what you haven't experienced?" I walk back to our makeshift kitchen, pull out the last chocolate lava cake I'd been saving, and warm it up on the camp stove. The smell of melting chocolate fills the air, and I swear I see several of the aliens lean forward unconsciously. I place the dessert on a plate, adding a scoop of vanilla ice cream that immediately starts melting against the warm cake. Then, I walk back to Vex and hold it out. "Try it," I say simply. "Then decide." "This is ridiculous," Vex says, but they take the plate. There's no visible mouth. But the dessert disappears somehow, absorbed into that light-eating armor. For a moment, nothing happens. Then Vex staggers. What is this sensation they demand?" "Happiness," Lyra says gently. "Simple, uncomplicated happiness. It's inefficient, unnecessary, completely without tactical value." "Yes, I agree. And yet, I prompt. The red sensors dim, then brighten, then do something that might be the mechanical equivalent of blinking in confusion. "And yet I want more," Vex admits, sounding shocked by their own words. That's human, I tell them. Wanting more not because you need it, but because it brings joy. Joy, Vex repeats. I don't have protocols for joy. Maybe it's time to write some new ones, Lyra suggests. The overseer stands there, a being of absolute authority reduced to confusion by chocolate cake. It would be funny if the fate of humanity didn't hang in the balance. Show me, Vex says, finally. Show me more of this human thing. So we do. We serve dessert to the overseer of the Galactic Council, to 43 alien representatives, to reformed predators and confused diplomats. We share recipes, stories, laughter. The sun sets, and someone, I think it was the plant being, suggests we make a fire. Soon we're all gathered around a campfire, beings from across the galaxy, roasting marshmallows and trying to understand s'mores. You set the sugar on fire, Vex observes, watching their marshmallow burn. Sometimes, I agree. Some people like them charred. Deliberately burning food, another inefficiency. Another joy, I correct. Vex processes this, then deliberately sets their next marshmallow completely ablaze, watching it burn with what I can only interpret as fascination. This changes everything, they say quietly. Does it? I ask. The council was built on the principle of order through classification, predator and prey, strong and weak, useful and useless. But we're chaos, I supply. Your possibility, Vex corrects. You show that our classifications are limitations, that there are options we never considered. So what happens now? Lyra asks. Vex stands, addressing the gathered council. We return to the station. We deliberate. And we decide whether the galaxy is ready for humanity. And if it's not, I ask, those red sensors focus on me. Then the galaxy needs to get ready, because humans are here, and they brought breakfast. Chapter 4, Climax. The morning after feeding the Galactic Council is surreal in ways I don't have words for. I wake up in what's left of our tent to find Razak sitting outside, watching the sunrise with the kind of intensity usually reserved for predators stalking prey. You don't sleep, I observe, crawling out of my sleeping bag. Vorak don't need much rest, he says without looking away from the horizon. We evolved on a planet with 3 suns. Night only came once every 40 cycles. That sounds exhausting. It was efficient, he corrects, then pauses. Though after experiencing your food coma, I'm beginning to see the appeal of rest. Lyra emerges from the tent, her hair doing that thing where it seems to glow in the morning light. The council's ships are still here. They're deliberating, Razak explains. The debate has been going all night. About whether we're dangerous. About whether you're real, he says. Several members think this is an elaborate hallucination. Flux suggested we've been infected by some kind of consciousness-altering parasite that makes us experience impossible things. Like happiness, I ask. Like bacon dipped in tree blood, he corrects. No one can adequately explain why that works. Before I can respond, there's a shimmer in the air, and Overseer Vex materializes. Not walks up, not lands in a ship, just appears like someone changed the channel of reality. The council requires a demonstration, they announce without preamble. Another breakfast, I ask, already mentally calculating how many eggs we have left. No, Vex says. They've eaten. Now they need to understand. You claim humans succeed through aggressive friendship. Prove it. How? There's been an incident. 3 systems over, on Kepler 442b. A mining dispute between the Thornaki and the Meloids has escalated. They're hours away from war. And you want us to do what exactly? Lyra asks. Stop them, Vex states simply. With your human methods. Show the council that your approach works beyond breakfast. I look at Lyra. She looks at me. We both look at Razak, who shrugs all 4 shoulders. I don't suppose they'd be interested in pancakes. I offer weakly. The Thornaki are silicon-based, Vex informs us. They eat rocks. The Meloids are energy beings. They don't eat at all. Of course they are, I mutter. Fine. We'll need transportation. Already arranged, Vex gestures, and a sleek ship materializes next to our campsite. The Council will observe. You have 6 hours before the conflict becomes irreversible. No pressure, Lyra says. Immense pressure, Vex corrects, apparently immune to sarcasm. The fate of your species' classification depends on this. The ship's interior looks like someone asked Apple to design a cathedral. Everything is white, smooth, and vaguely holy-looking. Razak joins us, along with Zara, who seems to have appointed herself as our cultural liaison. You should know, Zara says as the ship lifts off. The Thornaki and Meloids have been enemies for 3,000 years. Over what? I ask. No one remembers, she admits. But they're very committed to it. Great. Ancient grudges are my favorite, I say, pulling out my tablet. Tell me everything about both species. The journey takes 2 hours, during which I learn that the Thornaki are essentially living mountains with a culture based on geological patience and the accumulation of mineral wealth. The Meloids are plasma-based consciousness that exist partially in our dimension and partially in what scientists charitably call somewhere else. They communicate through electromagnetic pulses and consider physical matter to be an unfortunate necessity. So we have rocks fighting energy over a mining dispute, I summarize. On a planet neither of them is native to. Correct, Zara confirms. They're fighting over who has the right to extract deuterium from the ocean. Do either of them actually need deuterium? Not particularly. Then why? Pride, Razak says simply. The same reason Vorak hunt. To prove they can. I'm about to respond when the ship drops out of whatever physics-defying travel we were doing, and Kepler 442b fills the view screen. It's beautiful. Blue oceans, green continents, swirling white clouds. It looks like Earth's cousin who got into yoga and clean living. It also has 2 fleets of ships facing each other in orbit, weapons charged and ready. Those are a lot of guns, Lyra observes. Thornaki crystal cannons, Zara identifies, and Meloid phase disruptors. 1 shot from either, and this goes from standoff to debris field. Can we communicate with them? Channels open, Razak says. Working controls I don't understand. This is Ethan Carter of Earth, I say, trying to sound official. I'm here to mediate your dispute. The response is immediate and not encouraging. Humans have no standing here, booms a voice like an avalanche having an opinion. That must be the Thornaki. Your presence is irrelevant, comes another voice. This one like static trying to form words. The Meloids. Great. They agree on something, I mutter. Then louder. You're right. We don't have standing. We're not involved in your dispute. That's exactly why you should listen to us. Explain, demands the avalanche. We have no stake in this. We don't care who wins. We just think it's unfortunate that you're about to destroy each other over something neither of you actually needs. Pride demands satisfaction, the static insists. Does it, though? Lyra asks, leaning into the communication panel. Or does pride demand that you find a solution that makes you both look strong? There's silence. Then land. Neutral ground. The disputed mine. 1 hour. The connection cuts. Well, I say, at least they didn't shoot us. Yet, Razak adds helpfully. The disputed mine turns out to be a massive pit carved into the planet's surface, filled with water so pure it looks like liquid glass. The deuterium extraction equipment sits idle, caught between the 2 forces like a child in a custody battle. The Thornaki delegation arrives first. Imagine if a mountain decided to get an MBA and you're close. They're massive, angular beings of living crystal and stone. moving with the kind of deliberate slowness that suggests they measure time in geological epochs. Their leader, who introduces themselves as Avalanche that shapes valleys, though they mercifully accept Avalanche as a nickname, towers over us at nearly 15 feet tall. The Meloids arrive as dancing lights that hurt to look at directly, settling into vaguely humanoid shapes made of contained plasma. Their speaker, who doesn't offer a name but accepts Spark when I suggest it, hovers rather than stands, occasionally flickering between dimensions. So, I say, standing between two forces that could vaporize me without trying. Let's talk about deuterium. There is nothing to discuss, Avalanche rumbles. We claim this site first. Your claim is invalid, Spark counters, their voice rippling with electromagnetic interference. We discovered the deposit. Discovery means nothing without the ability to extract, Avalanche insists. Extraction means nothing without the energy to power it. Spark responds. Okay, I interrupt. You're both right. They turn to me in confusion, which is quite an achievement when one of them doesn't have a face and the other has a face made of granite. The Thornaki have the extraction equipment. The Meloids have the energy to power it. Neither of you can do this alone. We don't need them, Avalanche insists. Really, how's that working out for you? I gesture to the idle equipment. How long has this mine been sitting here, unused, while you argue about who owns it? 6 cycles, Spark admits reluctantly. 6 cycles of nothing. No deuterium for anyone. How is that victory? It's not defeat, Avalanche counters. It's waste, Lyra says. You're so focused on beating each other that you're both losing. What do you propose? Spark asks. And there's something like curiosity in the static. I pull out my tablet and start sketching. Joint operation. Thornaki run the extraction. Meloids provide the power. Split the deuterium 50-50. Unacceptable, they say in unison. Why? Because... Avalanche starts, then stops. Because you've been enemies for 3,000 years, I finish. And working together would mean admitting that the conflict was pointless. Silence stretches between us. The tension is so thick I could spread it on toast. Let me tell you about humans, I say, walking to the edge of the pit. We spent most of our history killing each other over resources. Land, water, oil, you name it. We got very good at war. Too good. We built weapons that could end our entire world. And then, Spark asks, and then we realized something. The resources we were fighting over were finite. The fighting was making them scarcer. But cooperation was infinite. We could create more together than we could ever steal from each other. Pretty words, Avalanche rumbles. But we are not humans. No, I agree. You're older, supposedly wiser. Yet here you are, about to destroy each other over water. Not even special water. Slightly special water. The principle, Spark begins. The principle is pride, I interrupt. And pride is expensive. How many resources have you spent on this standoff? How many ships, weapons, personnel? What could you have built with those resources instead? Zara steps forward. The Vorak understand pride. We lived for it, hunted for it, and it gave us nothing but empty victories and full graveyards. Until, Avalanche asks. Until humans fed us breakfast and asked us why we were so angry, Razak says. It was humbling and liberating. You want us to share breakfast, Spark sounds incredulous. I want you to share work, I correct. Look, you don't have to like each other. You don't even have to stop being enemies. But maybe, just for this one thing, you could be enemies who profit together instead of enemies who lose separately. The Council is watching, Avalanche notes, glancing at the sky where ships hover like metal clouds. Let them watch, I say. Show them that you're strong enough to choose profit over pride. And if we refuse, Spark asks, then you keep doing what you're doing, nothing, forever. While the galaxy watches two ancient civilizations throw a tantrum over puddle water. That hits home. I can see it in the way Avalanche's crystalline structure shifts, the way Spark's plasma field fluctuates. One condition, Avalanche says finally. The humans oversee the operation. What? I was not expecting that. You have no stake in our conflict, Spark agrees. You would be neutral arbitrators. We don't know anything about deuterium mining, I protest. You know about cooperation, Avalanche counters. That seems more valuable. I look at Lyra, who shrugs. We've come this far with aggressive friendship. Fine, I say. But we're going to need an office. And a coffee machine. Definitely a coffee machine. What happens next would make a terrible action movie, but a fascinating documentary. We spend 3 hours hammering out details. Not the big picture. That was surprisingly easy. The details are what kill you. Who operates which machines? How is the deuterium measured? Who gets the first shipment? I apply every conflict resolution technique I know. And when those fail, I make stuff up. At one point, I literally have them draw straws well. The local equivalent to decide who gets to name the operation. Joint Venture Mine Alpha, Spark announces after winning. That's a terrible name, Avalanche complains. You lost the draw, I remind them. I demand a rematch. You can't rematch random chance. Watch me. It's like mediating between toddlers. Immortal. Incredibly powerful toddlers who could crack planets. But toddlers, nonetheless. Finally. Miraculously. We have an agreement. Written in 3 languages. One of which exists partially in another dimension, and gives me a headache to look at. But it's signed, or at least the equivalent. Avalanche presses their crystalline hand to it, leaving an impression, while Spark infuses it with a specific electromagnetic signature. Now what? Avalanche asks. Now you work together, I say. And try not to kill each other. That seems unlikely, Spark observes. Which part? Both. But they start. Watching a being made of rockwork alongside a being made of energy is surreal. They bicker constantly. But it's productive bickering. The kind that solves problems, rather than creating them. You're oscillating at the wrong frequency, Avalanche complains. Your drilling angle is inefficient, Spark counters. Both of you are right, I interject. Spark, adjust your frequency. Avalanche, change the angle. See cooperation. 3 hours later, the first deuterium comes up. It's not much, barely a few gallons of heavy water, but it might as well be the holy grail for how they look at it. We did this, Avalanche says, sounding stunned. Together, Spark adds, sounding equally shocked. Together, I agree. And you didn't even have to stop hating each other. We don't hate each other, Spark says automatically, then flickers in what might be surprise. We don't hate each other. When did that happen? Avalanche wonders. Somewhere between arguing about drill angles and figuring out the optimal extraction rate, Lyra suggests. They look at each other, as much as a mountain can look at a plasma field, and something passes between them. Not friendship. Not yet. But maybe the possibility of it. The council will want to hear about this. Vex's voice comes from behind us. I turn to find the overseer standing there, having apparently been watching the whole time. What will you tell them? I ask. The truth. That humans are dangerous. Not because they're predators or prey, but because they're catalysts. They change things. Make enemies into allies. Turn conflict into cooperation. Transform the impossible into the inevitable. With aggressive friendship, Razak adds proudly. With aggressive friendship, Vex agrees. And I swear there's amusement in that mechanical voice. The journey back to the council's gathering is quiet. Avalanche and Spark travel with us, apparently now inseparable despite 3 millennia of conflict. They spend the entire trip planning improvements to their mining operation and bickering about optimization strategies. They're going to be insufferable, Zara observes. Former enemies always make the most annoyingly close partners. Speaking from experience, I ask. She glances at Razak. Maybe. When we arrive, the entire council is assembled. 43 species, watching as we explain what happened. I expect skepticism, doubt, maybe even accusations of trickery. Instead, Ambassador Crix stands and does something with their mantis limbs that might be applause. The humans have proven their point, they announce. They are neither predator nor prey. They are something far more dangerous. Mediators, suggests the tentacle being. Catalysts, Vex corrects. Friends, Razak says firmly. They're friends. Even when you don't want them to be. Even when you come to kill them. They make you their friend. It's insidious and wonderful and completely unfair. So what classification do we give them? Flux asks, their liquid form rippling with uncertainty. The council is quiet for a long moment. Then the plant being, who has been silent most of this time, rustles their leaves in what might be laughter. Human, they say simply. We classify them as human. A new category for things that don't fit categories. That's not how classification works. Several beings protest at once. It is now, Vex states with finality. The humans have shown us that our system is incomplete. They exist outside our understanding, and instead of forcing them into a box, perhaps we should expand our understanding. This will change everything, Crix observes. Everything's already changed, I point out. You're all standing here, together, because of pancakes and good conversation. The Thornaki and Meloids are working together after 3,000 years of conflict. The Vorak hunters are advocating for peace. Change happened. You're just deciding whether to acknowledge it. The vote, when it comes, is unanimous. Even beings that barely have opinions manage to express agreement. Humanity is classified as human, a unique category that essentially means undefined, but definitely worth keeping around. There will be conditions, Vex warns. Observations, tests. The galaxy needs time to adjust to your particular brand of chaos. Fair enough, I say. But we're going to need more pancake mix. Like industrial quantities. Why? Vex asks. Because we're about to have a lot of alien visitors, Lyra explains. And humans share food with guests. It's kind of our thing. As the council disperses, returning to their ships and their worlds with stories of the aggressive friendliness of humanity, Razak approaches us. This isn't what I expected when I came to hunt you, he admits. What did you expect? I ask. Glory, victory, proof of my strength. He pauses, looking at his claws, as if seeing them for the first time. Instead, I found something else. What purpose? He says simply. I've spent my life taking, hunting, destroying. But watching you, seeing how you build connections, create cooperation, I want to try that. Building instead of destroying. Is that foolish? That's human, I tell him. Or maybe it's just universal. The desire to create rather than destroy. To connect rather than isolate. He makes that chainsaw laugh sound. Then, perhaps we're all a little human. The scariest thought in the galaxy, Zara adds. But she's smiling. Or at least, I think she's smiling. Vorak facial expressions are still a work in progress for me. As we return to Earth, to our ruined campsite that somehow became the birthplace of a new era in galactic relations, I can't help but reflect on the absurdity of it all. We started with a predator breaking into our tent. We ended with humanity being recognized as a new form of life in the universe. Not because we're strong or smart or advanced, but because we're friendly to a fault. So what now? Lyra asks as we survey our destroyed tent. Now we clean up, go home, and I go back to my practice. Though I have a feeling my client base is about to get a lot more interesting. Interstellar therapy. Why not everybody needs someone to talk to? Even ancient plasma beings and living mountains. She laughs. That beautiful sound that started this whole adventure. Only you would see first contact as a business opportunity. Not business, I correct. Connection. That's what this was all about, right? Different species, different worlds, different everything, but the same basic need for connection. Through pancakes. Through pancakes. I agree. Though I'm thinking of diversifying. Maybe waffles for the next first contact. Above us, ships streak across the sky, carrying news of humanity's classification to the far corners of the galaxy. Each one carries a story of the species that weaponized friendship, that turned breakfast into diplomacy, that looked at the vast, dangerous universe and said, "Would you like some coffee?" We're going to need a bigger tent, Lyra observes. We're going to need a bigger planet, I counter. But that's a problem for tomorrow. Tonight. We sit by our campfire, roasting marshmallows and watching the stars, knowing that each point of light might soon bring visitors. Visitors who come not to conquer, or trade or study, but to share a meal, and maybe make a friend. The universe just got a lot bigger and a lot smaller at the same time. And it all started with a predator, a laugh, and the question, "Would you like some breakfast?" Razak was right about one thing. Humans are insane. But maybe, just maybe, that's exactly what the universe needed. A little insanity, served with syrup and a side of hope. Chapter 5. Falling Action and Resolution. 3 weeks have passed since the Council's decision, and my life has become delightfully insane. My psychology practice now includes appointments with a silicon-based life form, working through trust issues, and energy being dealing with existential dread, and, surprisingly, quite a few Vorak experiencing what I can only describe as identity crises. But today is special. Today, Razak is coming back. You're nervous, Lyra observes, watching me rearrange the camping supplies for the 5th time. I'm not nervous. You've alphabetized the pancake mix. That's just good organization. By brand, flavor, and country of origin. Okay, maybe I'm a little nervous. The truth is, I haven't seen Razak since he left Earth to return to his homeworld. He said he needed to reconcile his nature, which sounded ominous at the time. The last message I received simply said, "Returning with friends. Hope you have enough coffee." He's here, Lyra says, her empathic senses picking up something I can't feel yet. A ship descends through the morning clouds. But it's different from the aggressive, angular craft the Vorak arrived in originally. This one is smoother, painted in colors that shouldn't exist on a warship, blues and greens with what appears to be a badly painted Earth on the side. The hatch opens, and Razak emerges. He looks different, not physically. He's still 7 feet of predator perfection. But there's something in his bearing. A relaxation I haven't seen before. He's wearing what can only be described as a Hawaiian shirt, stretched across his massive frame, featuring a pattern of tiny pancakes and coffee cups. Ethan. He booms, crossing the distance between us in 3 strides and enveloping me in what I think is meant to be a hug, but feels more like being gently crushed by an affectionate bulldozer. Can't breathe. Sorry. He releases me, then does the same to Lyra, though more carefully. I've been practicing human customs. How am I doing? The shirt is a nice touch, I wheeze, getting my breath back. Zara said it was aggressively friendly. I thought that was appropriate. Speaking of Zara, she emerges from the ship next, and she's also changed. Her natural armor has been decorated with what looks like earth minerals, quartz, obsidian, fragments of turquoise. It's actually quite beautiful. We brought guests, she announces, and what follows is possibly the strangest parade I've ever witnessed. First comes a young Vorak, smaller than the others, maybe adolescent, wearing what appears to be a hand-knitted sweater with "Earth is neat" spelled out in uneven letters. Then, 3 more Vorak, each carrying cooking equipment I recognize, camping stoves, coolers. And is that a waffle iron, finally? And most surprisingly, an elderly Vorak emerges. This one moves slowly, deliberately, scars covering almost every inch of visible skin. Their 6 eyes are clouded with age, but there's a sharpness there that makes me straighten unconsciously. This is Elder Kral, Razak says with obvious reverence. He's the reason we could come back. Elder, I nod respectfully. The old Vorak studies me for a long moment, then speaks in a voice like grinding stones. So you're the human who broke my best hunter. I prefer to think I fixed him, I reply, trying to gauge if this is hostile or not. Kral makes a sound that might be a laugh, or might be a death rattle. Fixed? Yes. He came back speaking of pancakes and friendship, of building instead of destroying. Half the clan wanted to exile him. The other half wanted to know more about this maple syrup he wouldn't shut up about. And you? Lyra asks. I wanted to meet the creatures that could turn a Vorak warrior into... He gestures at Razak's Hawaiian shirt. You're disappointed, I guess. I'm curious, he corrects. I've lived for 200 cycles. I've seen the rise and fall of empires, the birth and death of stars. But I've never seen a Vorak voluntarily wear colors that bright. They're cheerful, Razak protests. They're an assault on vision itself, Kral counters. But there's fondness in his tone. The young Vorak, who introduces himself as Thorn, is practically vibrating with excitement. Is it true you made the entire Galactic Council eat breakfast, and that you taught Thornaki and Meloids to cooperate, and that humans keep predators as pets? All true, I confirm. Though the pet thing is more of a mutual arrangement. We feed them. They tolerate us. Incredible, Thorn breathes. Can you teach me? Teach you, Woody, everything. The cooking, the friendship thing, the way you make enemies stop fighting, everything. I look at Razak, who shrugs. I may have inspired some of the younger generation. Inspired is one word, Elder Kral mutters. Corrupted is another. Change, Zara corrects. The word is change. We spend the morning setting up what can only be described as an interspecies cooking school. The Vorak brought ingredients from their world, things with names I can't pronounce that range from probably edible to definitely trying to escape. I contribute Earth basics, and Lyra adds some Solari specialties that glow faintly and taste like nostalgia. The secret, I explain to Thorn, who's taking notes with the intensity of a scholar studying ancient texts, is that cooking isn't about the food. It's about the act of creation, of sharing, of bringing people together. But what if they don't want to be brought together, he asks. Then you make something so delicious they forget why they were apart, Razak says, flipping a pancake with perfect form. It worked on me. Elder Kral watches all of this with those ancient eyes, occasionally making comments that sound critical but might be approval. It's hard to tell with him. Your species makes no evolutionary sense, he tells me while watching Thorn attempt to crack eggs without crushing them entirely. You're weak, slow, fragile. You should have been extinct long ago. Probably, I agree. Yet you've survived, thrived, even. And now you're teaching the galaxy's apex predators how to make breakfast. When you put it like that, It does sound unlikely. He's quiet for a moment, then says, Razak told me something that troubled me. He said humans domesticated wolves, turned them into companions. We did. How, I think about it, probably started with one wolf who was hungrier than it was scary, one human who was lonelier than they were afraid. They shared food, warmth, protection. And over time,